Checking out the quality quickly, how it carries over. It's gonna be quite visible as I expected, but should be watchable at least on source setting. This is something I'm going to record as well, so I want to watch in better quality. See the recording. This one. I'm gonna wait 4 minutes or so before starting. I guess meanwhile I can show like how I usually start mapping is that I kind of have like a basis on what I want to do, and for that I usually use like paint or something to do like a really low res picture. What it looks like is something like this. So from here I start, like let's say I want to create a room. I literally just create like a low res representation of what I want to do and kind of build on from there. So kind of makes it easier to visualize, but of course during this stream I'm not going to do it, but kind of gives you an idea how I usually approach mapping. So having some kind of blueprint already ready really helps you go along. And yeah, I'm using the fill colors, but like this I usually like to work. So for example, here's like a hallway, then I decide, okay, I want to some kind of vent here, and through this vent the player can reach like the starting area. So let's say the player starts from here, and there's like a vent here, a little bit maybe like Doom 2 inspired there, so have an opening there, and maybe even make it symmetrical so you can actually reach the areas and like this. So you might, like, depending on how you want to map, it's really up to you, but I usually like creating these kind of visual representations of where I want to go next. Yeah, I think like I had something similar done for the zone 3 maps as well, and I find there's these kind of things really help to the mapping, and I like to do. But for example, the Power Slave map that I did, I had it like fully mapped. Then like a couple of Doom maps that are like pretty much one-to-one to the original blueprint and so on. It helps. And but here we're not going to use it. We're just gonna see where we go as we map along. So yeah, I guess let's begin. Whoever's watching anyways, this is going to be recorded anyway, so focus mostly on that. If you haven't watched the tutorial video, I highly recommend watching that, so you can find it on my YouTube channel as well. The tutorial video goes through the basics on how to do like the basic mapping, but here I'm just gonna do like a very basic map with a couple of enemies, a couple of doors, and kind of work on from there. So let's begin by selecting some textures. We can of course start indoors here, so let's try to find something that's a little bit more indoory. Go through the texture set. I'm gonna go how to build doors and how to build like locks that you can use with keycards and open doors and so on. So let's do it like this. Alt W, get it around there. Let's see some puppet texture. Using a different resolution than I want to used to, so everything's in a different position. Let's try to have like a different palette here. Green looks good. Let's go with that. And let's try to find something for the ceiling. Something that usually works pretty well is this one. It's kind of multi-purpose and works with a lot of situations. Let's put the shading here so at least doesn't look like super dull. So let's see where this goes. Indoors, I usually, at this point, the grid size should be 3. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. And with grid size 3, it's kind of easier to manage what you want to do. So let's say we want to create a door here. It's going to be 1024. We can drag it a tiny bit. So 768 is usually like enough for a lot of doors. So pretty much like that. Let's do a door. How I usually like to do them is kind of create 3 of these, and then you can pull these sides. And what is kind of important when it comes to mapping is to have like cues. So I very often like to just do it like this. I know someone's probably screaming, please use the texture groups, but just I'm used to manually navigating through these. Nice. Make this. I think 2 of these. Good. That. 33 powell is good. Put it to shade 0. Paste. Paste. And like that. Sweet. A slight opening. Let's find the door track texture. Press O on it. And very useful thing that a lot of people don't know is that actually the warning stripe textures are really useful when communicating to the player what is safe and what is not. So you can maybe want to experiment a little bit where you want to put those warning stripes, but usually they're a good indication that there's a door or something, and that kind of makes you want to look in places that you normally wouldn't. It kind of draws your attention a little bit more, I would say. So over here, you can also alternatively, what I usually do is that I put a warning stripes here and maybe use this one even, and then put it like this. So it's kind of relative to the floor, and we get like 3 trims from the edge right over there. That's also very handy. Yeah, we can maybe leave it like that already. It's a different DPI for the texture, so like that, and it's a little bit nicer. That, and there we have some nice trims. We can do this. What I do is slope a little bit, depending on the problem is going to be the light textures on the side. So we press Alt W. It's not going to do anything, but I think this is probably like 1-to-1 ratio when it comes to the textures. So you might want to experiment a little. Hello, chair. And maybe here, really depends on the texture, like how it's going to fit with the thing here, but let's go with the usual. Let's get the door down first and see DPI is going to be the aspect ratio. Let's get these kind of doors. kind of flexible purpose doors. So you can see that this is practically going to be, if we do Alt W, what Alt W does is that it puts the width to where the height is supposed to be. So I think we might want a tiny bit larger a door to make it nicer. Doors should always be a little bit larger than the player, so it makes them nicer to navigate. So in this case, I would say, yeah, 16, 17, 18, roughly 18. $18 is a good number, so we'll just go with that. And let's get these correct on the side, and these are easy to copy paste around after you've done, so you can just put them here and here and that later. But this is kind of a slide door, but we'll just use it as a regular door. So we can get this one. This is going to be good. So right now we notice that the aspect ratio doesn't fully match, so we can do it like this. There we go. Should do. And let's give it a nice color with the alternative palettes we can browse around and put like a different palette. So what it does, like past, I think, yeah, 13, 14 or something like that, you can see that the rims over here get colored if you're under 13. But the higher you go, like let's say 23, you can see the rims stay, and it actually only colors the blue part. This is a very, very useful tool that should be utilized whenever possible. And then you have the metal pals, which are like even higher. So something like 85, and you get like a little bit higher contrast boosted ones, but let's use a 21 here, for example. So green door, let's change this one to be something a little bit different. So let's use PAL 1 here, for example. Doesn't really matter. People don't think it's a green door. Specifically from here, I'm just gonna copy paste the height. Got the height copy pasted. Let's do this. Maybe use something more fitting with the ceiling. So something wooden trim, a little bit better. Let's put the doors bright. So what I usually do is that I increase the brightness to full bright. And what that means is that if your room is extremely large, like this, you can see that it gets dark, but the doorway is going to stay fully lit in the background. So visibility basically does like this. You can make it darker, darker, darker. This is not the same as shade, because if I go close to the wall, it's going to be bright, but if I go further away, it's going to go dark very quickly. So this is actually a very useful tool that you can use to highlight areas in the distance, and that catches the player eye much more than it normally would. It's aspect ratio correction and line the walls. And we'll just put a sign here that says something. I'm just going to use groups here. So I press T, I get that, and lettering and signs. Let's go for it. And from here, employees only sounds good. So control page up, sit there, and then we have, I can press slash, but if I press shift control slash, it does a little bit more, and if I press control shift slash, it puts it even smaller. So we're just going to increase this size a tiny bit. You can see on the bottom left corner over there, it's going to tell you the size it's going to be. So let's do 24, 24, and that's going to be decent size. The store is maybe a tiny bit too big, my liking, but we'll just go with it for now. And we'll have another room here of its purpose yet, but we'll just use the same texturing here that we used in the other room. There. And what is important is to keep kind of the contrast between the heights when you go along. So we might even take the height of this room from the previous room, but let's say this is kind of like a storage area, sort of, so we can take a different texture. Let's take a taller texture. Yeah, the FPS is going to be very high on this engine, so let's see, something like this, and lower this a little bit, so alright, and there we go. Storage area thing. This is the first instance where you actually have to use the button to kind of align. So you have to manually align these bits here because it doesn't really like you having like different textures on top and bottom. So let's do it like that. Luckily we have easy references on the bottom. Not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna have to do for now. See, there's like darkness there, so let's put it down there. And, yeah, be okay. So this room is obviously going to be darker because it's a murky, storagey area thing. So you can already see that the visibility, if you boost it up, it actually creates a very, very nice contrast. Let's do 846 over here. I'm going to copy paste the Z to be the same over there. And I think we could have a like an elevator going up and down here. That would be pretty nice. And let's have a floor there. Yeah, this is the build engine, so a little bit different. We're gonna have floor here. Probably gonna have something else than that, so let's do a little bit different. Let's see what. So used to the textures being at the certain places, but when I change the resolution, the textures are obviously going to be placed very differently. We can do a little bit lab-like environments. What I usually recommend is experimenting with the shades. So if I do PAL 33 here, you can see that it's a tiny bit greenness to it. So if I apply this around, it's a very subtle thing, but it can actually increase like the contrast between areas and makes everything looks a little bit nicer. Let's increase this room. This is going to be a warehouse full of boxes because boxes are nice. Roughly how it goes over there. Great. And now we just need a create this a pillar. Maybe some kind of tech wall here to kind of make it a little bit. It's the correct aspect ratio. Take the next bit here so it doesn't really identical, and to here we can use kind of like these door track textures, kind of stealing the name from Doom, but it's just basically created for the purpose of being like the Doom texture that you see around. And to here we can create our elevator, so we're just going to use the same ratio here. Something that's kind of unique to build is kind of what I showed over here. So you can actually have two different textures, but how you want to pull it is that you want to raise the floor and lower the ceiling, and when you press 2, you can actually have a different texture in the bottom part. And it's a little bit tricky on how it works. The problem is that these actually, the stretching is tied, so you have to make sure that whatever you put on the bottom should match elsewhere as well. So what we want to do here is maybe make the repeat on the door tracky texture be the same on both sides. So we have it here and here. It's going to be a little bit stretched, perhaps. So maybe we can notch it like 2 units, 1 unit. That should work. And same here. And there are many instances like this throughout the game, and just hope that the player never notices that this bit, the pixels are 1 unit, not as wide as elsewhere. And you can do a simple elevator utilizing the Duke style, where you just have like a platform and it goes up and down. But to get more details, I tend to utilize something a little bit different here. So let's have a warning stripe here. It's this kind of like when you want to go with the details, you have to get more and more involved. So warning stripes, and make it so that it actually has like no warning stripes there. So there, and there. So we kind of split the sectors in a way that allows us to have like a custom texture here, and obviously you're going to fall off from there. You shouldn't be there, so we're just going to leave these kind of open here, and try to find a good texture for the floor here, something a little bit more elevatory. Let's see. Too much time with it. There, we'll just use this one. Align it a tiny bit, and there we go. Give this one a different texture. A little bit 21 is kind of slightly rusty, and lower the shades overall. I think it's otherwise a little bit too bright still, so I'll just go with that, and ceiling for the rest. Righty. So again, what's important is that immediately when you shade these two walls differently, so right now it's uniform shading on all the walls, but if I take 2 units lower and put it here, you can immediately see that everything becomes much more 3D than it would otherwise be. So utilize the shading differences to make things look more 3D than they would be otherwise. It's a very, very powerful tool. And let's see. What we want to do with the platform is that you have the effect, the sector effector, and we're going to use the sector effector 31, and this is floor Z. So what it does is that when this gets triggered, it will actually move where the sector effector is and move down. So it's basically just a Z movement, very, very simple, that you can trigger. So Alt T is how you can insert the load tag. Well, I wonder why it was 255. But anyway, what I usually do is that I place the sector effector on the platform where it's supposed to be. This automatically makes the game like pop it up there, because normally it would be like down here. But if you place it in 2D mode, where the platform is there, it will automatically plop it to the correct level, as you can see it appear there. And that's a useful way of getting the Z level correct. So now you can be sure that the level is exactly the same between these two. So we have 3 sectors. One, because we had it split apart, so 1, 2, and 3. And we'll make sure if we raise this, the floor is not going to raise. Great. Raise this, and raise this. So those are the 3 components we need to raise. Probably have a broken script or something why it keeps resetting that to 255, but worries. Clone it, so all those 3 sectors get covered, and then we need to give these guys a activation. So activation there, and to this guy we're gonna give let's say load tag 10. I'm sure I have some kind of script running here or something that keeps setting these. Need to check it later. Anyway, activator. You want to clone it. So now we have it in 3 places. For the activator, the Z doesn't matter, so we can even place it on the ground. It just makes it easier to visualize. Only the sector effector matters. So let's see. At this point, if we place a button here, And let's see. There, and press Ctrl C. It will actually auto-correct the button and make the correct size. So every time you press Ctrl C, it will just automatically reset. How the sizing and that gets determined is actually similar. So if I were to use keyboard only as a keyboard only player, and now if I press use, it's perfectly aimed where the crosshair would be. So let's have a quick test on how this works, and you can see how the things work in game. So right now there's not going to be any sounds. And over here, you cannot jump. If we press the button, you can see that it goes up. And this is basically what the sector effector 31 does. Of course, you can see that the shading and everything needs to be done on the sides and everything, but we'll get to that. Yep. Here we go. And this is part of build glitching, don't worry about it. It's you need to make the button one-sided, otherwise it's gonna keep doing that. It's just the rendering quirks of the engine. Anyway, that's how you create like a simple elevator. So holding some button. So I'm really holding some buttons is complaining that I have level 5 corruption already. Well, it's just buggy at the moment, but normally you weren't supposed to have this level 5 corruption at this point, but something's bugged up with my script. I'll have to check it out later. How we're going to create the door. For the door, you should get that one open. So what I have is Alt-D. What it does is that it basically just lowers the ceiling to the floor. And we're going to create a very basic Doom door out of this. So what a Doom door requires is that you should have a sector effector. Sector effector. So what this does is that it's going to auto-close the door. And we're going to set 96 to the auto-close delay. 64, 96, that's usually like what you have in the stock map, so that's going to be nice enough. And for the door, it actually is user activated, so we actually don't need the activator. A little bit of water. What you want is DS. What this does is actually going to do the smoothing, so when it starts to accelerate and go fast up and accelerate and go down, this is part of the DS sprite, so we're just going to move it under the door. And it's going to be there. It doesn't require any tags, so you can just leave it like that. And what we also want is sometimes you optionally want the speed sprite, but what we want is the music and FX. This is what you can use to give sounds to the door. So F2, I know that 1544 gives you this sound, and 1540 gives you this. Which, yeah, 43 and 44. So 44 is the close sound, so it should be the high tag, which is the left tag. That's always going to be the stop sound, and this is going to be the start sound. So when the door starts moving, you get the 43, which is this one, and when it stops, you get this sound. So just place it there, and now you should have sound whenever you use it. For this one, it's a little bit trickier because the sector effector 31 doesn't natively support sound very well. So instead, what we're going to do is that I'm going to have a music and sound effects plus, which is something you can trigger from a button. Try to find it first. So here. So for this one, We can check a sound again. No, no. Yeah, those are elevators, so we're just gonna do elevator start. 763, alright. So we have the music at suffix, bass sound 763, and a tag 10, which is the linking tag. The problem with this is going to be that it's going to have too long of a sound for the elevator ride, because it's never going to stop, basically. You can hear it there. Okay, the DS didn't work on that door for some reason. Let's see. Check what's wrong here. Maybe I need to jiggle these sound effects. So what the DS basically does, it hijacks the music effects and makes it so that you actually don't get the stupid echo effect. So sorry for that. Should do it. Nope. That is strange. Because part of that effect, what that is supposed to do. Yeah, sorry, it's not gonna work. There's something wrong with the effect right now, because the DS is normally supposed to fix these sounds. Oh yeah, of course. Low tech 20 on the door, and it actually becomes a door. So that was my mistake. So low tech 20 makes the any sector basically act like a Doom door. So now that if you go up here, yeah, you get the stupid sound, and it's like it should be. And after a while, it will automatically close. So this kind of delay is usually what we use in the stock maps. It's enough for most usage. And if you want, you can actually tie this door to a light effect. So let's say we want to make this a tiny bit brighter, but if we want to have, let's say, the door creates kind of like a nice shading when it opens, so we can just take it here, it's gonna go all the way to the end, like maybe through there and there. We're just gonna do something like this. Okay. Shade, and maybe we'll just something like this here. So what we want to do here is kind of create this slope that goes down. Insert another point here so we can get the first wall here. So this, and it's gonna align with the floor, and like that we get it here, squish it, and we can use the 2 again, but instead of changing the texture, we actually are just gonna do the shade. So here we're gonna do the shade and align the walls again. You will have to manually change the lower part around a bit, but right now it creates the illusion that the shade is actually coming from the door. So we want to create the open state first, and it's a little bit further, and what we can do is most likely we want to get this like that, and that. It's a little bit steeper. There we go. That. Because we want to get the ceiling in quicker than the floor itself. And that's darker there, and lighter there, there. A tiny bit there that we need to fix as well. So right now, it requires a little bit more work on the elevator. So again, we need more activators. We have this, And then we have this tiny sector here that we need to fix. There we go. Should be it. So now the whole sector should move up when it does. And let's do a bit of lighting here. That's the rest of the area a little bit darker. So this is kind of how you can create basic lighting in areas. It's gonna be darker. And again, these floor bits here are going to be dark because the shading doesn't apply yet. There we go. So what we want to do is actually, we want to make it so that when the door opens, it is actually going to become light. So for that, you have the light effect sprites, which are these ones. So what these do is that they actually offset the shade for you when you use them. So if I'm gonna make this sector dark again, so the sector is gonna look like this when I first enter here. So I'm gonna make it, let's say we want +5. So if I do a light preview, I can see that what happens when it turns on, because this is the sector. Let's do a little bit less bright, so something like +3, 4, that should be good enough. And the problem is that the shading is there, so we actually need to do it like this. This and this. Do it and delete that. There we go. And I'm gonna put this here. And yeah, just gonna make sure. And then I need to move this here. I think that's gonna take the lower part, yes. So I have to cheat around a little bit. This is what you have to kind of do quite a bit. Then I'm gonna tell this light sprite that I only want to do walls. So I'm gonna put 3 here as a Y velocity. You can see from the flags on the bottom that I want to skip ceiling, I want to skip floor, I only want to do walls, which means that it's actually going to do the wall here. This is kind of a quirk related to the how it handles like the split walls, because I have like, instead of actually having like a realistic split or anything, it's actually kind of like 2 different sectors. So it steals the wall from the other side, and that's why you get it. Strange, keeps deleting stuff. Need to recheck the scripts anyway. Yeah, that's how you do it. And I'm gonna put the lights off. We are gonna need the ceiling, so I'm gonna take 1 off from this one, so we just make it 2. And now you can see that it gets the ceiling along for the right as well. But now, for the rest, we actually don't want anything except the ceiling. So we skip floor and we skip walls, so the number is going to be 6. And now if I do this, I can see that it takes the ceiling along. And I'm going to replicate this for all the sectors where the ceiling is supposed to be lit, which is those ones basically. And now if I turn the lights on, there we go. We can kind of see the representation. I'm going to turn the visibility down on this area overall, so the contrast will be bigger when the lights go on. So you can see it lights up. I'm just gonna give these lights maybe a little bit more, like +6. That sounds good. There we go. This one. Right, so now we have a nice lighting that comes up when you open the door. But first we need to tie these light sprites. So what you can do is for DS, I'll give it a height tag of 11. This actually ties them to the light. So if I do low tag 11, 11, 11, 11, and now every time I open the door, those should light up. I'm gonna make these darker, so they're not gonna influence too much the lighting that goes on there. And I'm gonna take a regular light from here that has the full property. I'm gonna put it there because I want this area to light up to fulbright. Has a shade of 9, so we only need -9 there. Great. And for this one, we don't actually need to skip the floor, so I'm just gonna put skip 4. That's gonna be, so we only skip the walls, so we only need 4 there. And here we go. An area that lights up shade. So there we go. That should do. All right, so now let's give it a test. How it works. It's a little bit tedious to do the lighting sometimes, but the possibilities are like so much more than what you could do with most build engine games. So you can see that it lights up and closes. Gives a really, really nice effect. And yeah, these are very, very like customizable on what you can do, and especially imagine if you have like an enemy encounter, like an enemy entering from there. We could actually do that. So how that works is that you actually need an activator that's going to tell the door to open. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put an activator here. We can give this activator a value of 12. And every time this 12 gets triggered, be it a button or be it like a touch plate or something, the door is actually going to open. So let's actually change our starting location so that we start from the storage room. And let's have something a little bit more interesting here, like let's like a upper area here, so you're kind of falling down at the beginning. And the moment you fall down, that is going to trigger a sequence with the touch plate plus, and the trigger tag for this is going to be 12. So once you hit this, what actually happens let's remember these numbers all too well. It's going to trigger a cultist, and this cultist will spawn there. We are going to create a waypoint for him to walk in. So we're actually going to use the locator sprites, and we want to make the dude a passive dude, but we don't have to worry about it yet. There's a lot of documentation for these guys, so don't get too intimidated. Plus I have really low resolution, so it's gonna eat like half of the screen. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna low tag waypoint number is gonna be 0, and we're gonna give this guy a squad. So let's say 13, and this guy we're gonna give linking tag for locator pass to follow, which is the height tag. So let's go there, and each subsequent locator where I add +1 and +1, it will be part of the path. So let's go here and have this one be the final. Just ignore the obnoxiously large text over there. And on the locator path over there, I'm gonna change the palette. So where we want clear all ignore flags, face locator, and go to sleep. Okay, let's do that. So PAL 9. And there is transformation key, which is Control Alt and Q. This will transform the sprite to a respawn sprite. So instead of being available on the map load, it will make it appear like that. And we should make it fully transparent to allow a single spawn. It's a good thing to start. And yep. Trigger for activation, we use 12. So you can see that the thing goes here. You can see that it opens the door and it's going to spawn the guy. And it should be just enough for the guy to get outside and start shooting at me. So let's see how it works. Alright, let's walk here. Door opens, the guy comes and starts shooting at me, and unfortunately he's going to be behind the door. But in most cases he's going to open the door and have no issues reaching me. What you can do, and since it has the activator, that's going to lock the door. So what actually you want to do in this case, if you place an activator to the door, it's going to think that you want to lock the door permanently. So actually use a master switch, and this master switch is the exact same thing as an activator, but it is not going to permanently lock the door. So what we can do is on the first locator, we can set flags. So let's see, stay on path. So add flags to ignore player and ignore hits. So that is 11. So let's do that. And if we do this again, the cultist should actually go to the spot and ignore the player completely until it has reached the spot. So it's going to ignore all the hits and everything. And now you can see that he actually made it inside. And this way you can actually create like an ambush or anything that you want. And that's a very important bit on how to create like dynamic, interesting combat in the game. So I managed to hide the button somehow. Okay. Careful there. Button there and Control C. I usually don't have voxels enabled on the editor, so that's why you don't see them here. Right, so we got the guy. From the guy, we can also set that the guy should respawn something when he dies. So there's the Z velocity, as you can see there. I can press Alt D, and we want a yellow key to spawn from this guy when he dies. And with the yellow key, we can create another door. And this one is a little bit wider than the other one, that's alright. Again, when you're creating a door, I recommend using light cues, and I recommend using warning stripes whenever possible. So in this case, never make the door be part of the wall like this completely. So you always want to split the door, like even 2 splits are not, or like 1 split is not gonna be enough. So always have like an area that is like this, so that you can lower it, and then you can have a door that actually goes up and down, and so on. In this case, we don't want to use the angled wall gimmick again, so I'll just simply place the door track texture here again. And this is a multi-purpose texture that you can use pretty much everywhere, so don't worry about overutilizing it, because it's the best texture in the game. And then we clear the palettes. Let's see what we can use here as a door texture. Hi, Devox. Yeah, very basic. And there is actually enemies and lighting. Look at this. Look at that. There's one light. Let's see. This is always where I spend the most time figuring out the door textures. Let's use a texture. Should be one in this range that I could use. Bring it down. I could use. I'll just use this one. This is actually. Oh, Alex didn't fix the palettes on this one. Okay. I'll just use this one. This is a kind of squarish texture that we can use here. And let's make it a little bit wider so we can make it a little bit taller as well. So 1 to 80 is a good rule of thumb. It works really well most of the time. Like that. Yeah, that's pretty much a fit for the door. Okay, we can put it on the other side. And let's just make sure that the ceilings match here. So I'm just gonna copy paste the ceiling. And then we can use the warning stripe here and warning stripe here. Since we're not using the lights, we can actually try to cue the player in with the warning stripes instead. Since this is a yellow locked key, I always recommend color coding the doors to the appropriate keys that are required. It just makes navigation so much easier for the player. And let's see, it's a little bit different texture there, maybe a bit darker. Oh, and yep. Once you have the, it might be tedious for the first time when you do the doors here, but you actually realize that you can pretty much just copy paste all the effects you had there. You can just copy them here. Let's do the door texture like that, and this, and this, and this. And now that I just changed this DS to be different, remove the master switch because we don't need the automatic triggering, and then we can let's just use that. So 4-1 and was 4-2. So 4-1 and 4-2. There we go. Auto close delay, DS. That's gonna make sure the sounds work, and we already have like a quick door created for this new area right over here. Let's copy the ceiling and warning stripes here. This is really useful. Say, while the doors in Fury don't actually kill you that easily, it's still a really useful way to communicate to the player that, yeah, there's a door, there's a moving object, you should watch out, and just makes your life a little bit easier, more fun. So let's say actually here we could have that this is actually like a more of a loading dock kind of like area. So we're just moving from theme to theme as we go, but makes it a little bit nicer to work with. So a little bit brighter here. We're gonna put visibility to 0. 0 is like the default visibility. It's still not full bright, but it's not like this room here, which is very dark, very easy. And now we actually want to use the activator that we didn't use previously. So you put the activator here, and I always remember if it was high tag or low tag for the activator. So I'm just gonna put it there, and then we are gonna put a keypad. I think it was here? No. Please forget where the key is. Reoccurring theme that's gonna go through the texture sets. It's been a bit since I last opened the editor, so sometimes I actually end up going to other maps completely just to find it, but I'll just do surface, and from here we can do switches, which is S, and from here I'll find the keyboard anyway. So okay, Control C a couple of times and it becomes yellow, and again it has some fulbright elements on it already, but you might want to keep the area slightly lit sometimes. We'll just go with that. So the keycard itself is going to give some indication, and while you never are going to open it on the other side, it makes sense to include it on the both sides just for the sake of navigation, because when the player comes back he can see, oh yeah, this was the yellow key door, just like in Doom you have the skull doors and so on. So this was 4015. I always forget if it was low tag or the high tag for the keycard, so let's see how it goes. So kill this guy. He's gonna drop a yellow keycard if all goes well. He didn't. Okay, great. Didn't want him to drop one anyway, so I'm just gonna cheat and use the... Oh yeah, forgot the low tag 20 on the door. Bad. And let's see, why didn't you want to? Is that, well, yellow key it should spawn a yellow key, so that's curious why it doesn't. Let's see. Spawn yellow key on death. Should be correct. Let's try again. Nice, get out of here. Okay, well, I think something's broken in my scripts, but pretend it's working. And there we go. The door opens. The problem is that I think it needs to be high tech for it to... Oh, yes, I'm stupid. It needs to be the activator locked sprite instead of the activator. So activator will activate it once, but then you have L, which is activator locked, and this is used for locked doors. So that's basically a toggle switch. Once you toggle it, it's going to unlock, and once you toggle it, it's going to lock it. So please use that when you want to lock and unlock stuff. So over here, let's do a little bit of brighter room. I'm not going to worry about lighting the other room right now, because we're just going to focus on doing stuff. Focus more in the fun parts now. And in this room, I want to create an explosion. So let's say we want this wall here to explode, and we want there to be something on the other side, like some crap. So let's start by doing a kind of, how I usually start is that I kind of create the rough shape of the area that where the explosion should be, and slope it down a little bit. And after this, you might want to have like a tiny bit of variety on the walls, and let's create something like this and this and that. So we'll just take the first wall from there, and when I slope it, it's gonna kind of lean against the walls and create kind of like a shape that it has been, it's kind of going against the walls a little bit, so it's a bit of a sloppy looking explosion right now, but kind of gives you the idea that whatever explosion is happening there, and here, whatever explosion is happening there, it kind of tries to go along the walls a little bit. And slope it like that. we go. A little bit of opening here. Here we have a little bit of wall cracks there, and maybe this one could go upwards slightly, and this one could go upwards slightly, so there's some kind of formation going on there. And at this point, we're gonna have to redo some of the stuff because I was stupid, but you will want a kind of like a in-between wall where the wall crack is gonna be. What this is basically gonna do is that it's gonna give like the shape point there. First walls, that should. So what this does is that this is kind of acting as the wall in between the wall crack, and over here you can have like the internal wall itself, and the rest could be like rubble ground, or like let's use rocks here, and I'm just gonna do very quick and lazy texturing all the rocks here, and just make this awful. And at this point you can maybe create a tiny bit of difference there, so the player kind of sees that, okay, there's the man-made structure kind of stuff, and there's the nature kind of structure. So I always like to have these kind of as separate materials when it comes to the wall crack. So we're just creating the basic shape here, and after that you will want for the wall crack to create a tiny bit of difference. So let's start by there's like many different ways you can create a wall crack, but you most likely want to have some kind of like basic shape to it. So it's this way, yeah. So it kind of leans towards the player, and let's do it on the other side as well. When you attach these together, you can kind of get a little bit of as if the wall is being chipped from the other sides, and creates this kind of like nice 3D effect on the walls. Slopes. This one needs as well. Here, and this one could be like even more drastically sloped. The other ones, let's do it like that. That. Sometimes you can also just, well, we're not here, but sometimes you can have that one face differently as well. But we're gonna make the opening a tiny bit smaller because it looks a little bit stupid that way. Otherwise, that's and that. Sure, the first wall is correct. You have to correct it manually many times. So right now we have like an opening here that's good enough for our purposes. Slightly, so on. A little bit of doesn't look like perfect thing. Different, a bit more oval shaped, just a perfect circle. All right, so now we have the wall crack. Again, we have the problem that the textures are from different heights and everything. So we'll actually have to manually correct the height for these textures. Usually, if you press period here, it will actually correct the X proper, but you still have to adjust the Y yourself. So we can just copy paste it there, correct it for one of these, and you can sometimes use these guidelines. Like here, I'm going to use the line in the texture to make sure that those align. And yeah, that should pretty much be it, except that it restores those. So working with these is sometimes they're really painful. So don't be surprised if it never goes your way when you're actually working with these. And now the problem is if I put this down, because what we actually want to do is that we want to close this gap. So when the player gets here, this thing actually isn't open yet. So you need to press O, 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 and this actually changes the alignment so it doesn't follow the texture. But again, we have the same problem here once more, that the texture doesn't look beautiful, but we can manually fix it again. And there we go. Have it right there, and we need to do these gaps that are left by the texture manually, fortunately, but it's not too much of a trouble. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Darken the shades from the inside. This gives, again, enhances the 3D that you get. Shading is very, very important when it comes to build mapping, so just a tiny bit of shade difference here, 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 it already makes the whole opening look much more inviting. Well, inviting, but different. Yeah, just gonna there and bits and beautiful. What we can do to cheat is that we actually don't have to worry about the interior at all, because the interior will never be seen by the player before the explosion, so we don't actually have to worry at all about that. So I'm just gonna do lazy shading here. Horrid, yeah. And there are options. You can use the sector effector 13, which is what Duke 3D ships with, but I prefer to use one of the new effects, which basically do sector swapping. So you can use this as a template elsewhere in the map, and when you hit a switch, it will actually switch whatever's here to be this template. But it only switches the sector properties, so none of the wall textures here or anything will work. So that's why we need to do this as an exploded state first and then destroy it. So how this works is that we can take this area, for example, and clone it there. And let's do sector effectors here. So actually, let's do it in a different order. So yeah, destroy that. Yep. So we do one SE heap here. Hiccups. And we do 67, which is the copy sector. So insert, insert, and linking tag for activation. Let's do 16 for this, and 16 and 16. So what we need to do is that we give these guys all a different extra. So 5 or 10, and this one is going to be -1. That's enough for us. We're going to copy here, and what we're going to do is we're going to increase these by 1. So we do just select these all, Alt and numpad plus, and it changes these to 68. And that's all we need to do. And this is basically the state that it's going to be when it's destroyed. We can just destroy this, and we can destroy these, because we only need these 3 sectors, because that represents the open state, and that's the source that where we're going to copy from. So you can see that all these link there, and right now we just need a button. I'm just going to use a button here for testing purposes. So let's give it a 16 and put it there, and yep, that should do it. And what we want to do now is that we want to close this. So we remove the sloping. This is to ensure that the floor and the ceiling can touch. So we're just gonna lower the ceiling all the way where the floor is. And this is what you're gonna get. And right now I notice that these aren't lined up, so I can still do a tiny bit of last minute adjustments here, but most likely we're not gonna get this looking perfect. We can try. Let's see. Over time you get pretty good at this juggling, but I think, yeah, get it because something different elsewhere. Anyway, you need to do the textures like proper before doing that. Let's see. Just here. And the cool thing with this method is that you can do pretty much everything else as well. So we press the button and you can see that the hole opens up immediately. Of course, that's a bit anticlimactic because we have no explosions or anything, but this is the way that you can easily create like exploding holes. Let's add some explosions here. So there, it's this explosion sprite 1247. We're gonna make it a tiny bit smaller. So let's do 32 by 32, and we're gonna give this guy a linking tag of 16, which is our trigger for the explosion. For YVEL, we're gonna remove the D requirement. You pretty much always want to remove the D requirement. This is a legacy Duke thing, and I wouldn't worry about it having it. So height tag is actually the explosion tag. There we go. And we're gonna add a couple of these explosions here. This, and most likely the middle one is gonna be the first, and then we want to, let's say this goes up, this goes down, and this goes up, and like this, so we can create a little bit of variety of the explosions. We give this, let's see, a little bit more delay, so let's give this guy 10 ticks worth of delay, and this guy could be like 18, and let's give this guy like 26, and you want to give these like explosions some asymmetry and kind of rhythm, so it makes it more fun when you blow them. So with explosions, you of course get the explosion, you get some screen shake, you get some smoke, and you get some other stuff, and so on. So for basic explosion, it's enough to do it like that. And of course, the sequence will be the same every time, and you might want to experiment with the explosion sizes and so on, depending on what you want to achieve. But it's very simple to do explosions, and maybe move them up a little bit, and maybe you want to make some explosions bigger, some smaller, and this is like how you can create a little bit of easy variety. So let's just demonstrate how it changes. And also the damage scales with the explosions as you go along. So you can see it already looks a little bit different than before. There's like one big explosion and a couple of auxiliary explosions. One important thing is that you don't want to be unfair to the player. So let's say the player enters this room and gets here. It's going to be very unfair if you lose like 20 health for basically doing nothing wrong. And so what you can do is you can actually palette these explosions, and the palette, if I press N, it will show you. So 0 is the normal one. 1 is damage only, no sounds, visuals. Visuals plus audio only, no damage. Sound only, visual only. Okay, so what you probably want to do is we at least want no damage, but in most cases, like if you have a ton of explosions, it's very annoying if you have like going around and clashing and so on. So a lot of the time you want to actually disable the sounds. So I would say that let's do a couple that are visual only. So that's the first one. Let's do this one, the first and the second last, and be visual only. The first one gives no damage, so let's do visual plus audio only, no damage. So give this one a 9, and then we can do, let's say, damage only, no sound, visuals. We can, this tiny one over there can be like a damaging one. So if you get really, really close, you're actually going to hurt yourself. So this is going to result something that's much more fair against the player. And you'll hear the difference. It's a little bit more tame, but it also, I would say that in this case, it's kind of fits the explosion hole a little bit more. But of course, you will need to experiment with the explosion sizes and whatnot, depending on how dramatic you want to make the entrance. And because these don't really damage, you can actually have an enemy behind here. So let's say, let's have a cultist here, greater one, and we can turn this into a proximity sensor because that's a bit more of a surprise element than having a button. So let's use the proximity sensor, which is a new feature to Ion Fury as well. So the linking tag is 16, but let's give this one 2024. So when the player gets close enough over here, it will trigger the explosion. So let's see. Right, and there we go, and the guy is already ready to fire. And this is how you can create like encounters that are gonna surprise you. And you can pretty much tell that there's, yeah, if I go really close, I'm gonna get damage, but otherwise I'm not gonna get damage. And a lot of the time you want to experiment like having the damaging explosion, a very tiny one there. So it gives the player a tiny bit more room, because the first ones are not gonna hurt, but the last one is gonna hurt. So if the player is still brave enough to run against the explosion, then he is going to die, but the first ones are actually not going to kill him, so it's a little bit more fair. There we go. And that's pretty much how we can create a easy explosion. And now the door is usable part. Yeah, those are kind of the basics when it comes to doing some of the stuff. And we can check, let's say, over here you kill this guy, you get a different key card. Let's say this guy is dropping a spawn blue key on death, and there might be like a blue key hole here that you can use. And basically with that you can create some basic gameplay elements, but I mean, this is kind of enough to go a little bit further. So I'm probably gonna stop here for today, and I'm gonna do another series in the mapping videos and upload this to YouTube, and hopefully this will shed some light on how the very basic of the doors and effects and explosions work. There's still a lot to cover when it comes to the game, and I'm gonna do more specialized series on the effects themselves and how they work and so on. But with these you can at least create like a very basic map. And always when you end your map, please use the end of level sprite, which is EOL. I'm just gonna find it here first, but it's a little bit easier when you have a high resolution. There. So EOL. First you can give the secrets left. So secrets left is gonna give you the secret count on any sector that you are on. And how you can do a secret, you can use this one. Any sector that has these sprites will be a secret sector. And you can also combine these, and you can also use a button to trigger the secret. Let's say you have an explosion and you want to give like 1 or 2 seconds worth of like staging the secret, and then you get the so on. So this is going to give you the secrets left on all the sectors where you are. And then you have the end of level sprite. And I think it was palette 9. If you give this one, it will give you the endgame splash screen for the preview version. But with the end of level, you can end the level and have it so that you don't have to actually use buttons or anything. But you can still tie this end of level to anything you want. Like you can even have very easy, like if you want, I can create a triggered on kill. So let's say put 88 here. Much for quitting the stream, by the way. 88, and we can do even a very scary boss fight out of this one cultist that we have here. So we go here. Here's the bad guy. Kill him. I think it's not firing any triggers for some reason, but if it did, it would end the level. So let's see. I'm just going to put that 10 there, so let's try with the button this time instead. There's something wrong with my copy, but I'll figure it out later, but it will work on your copy. So there, and zone complete, and that's how you can normally how it's supposed to happen, and this is how you get this stuff. But right now it's gonna give you like a level.
You're lucky I can't fit a grenade launcher in my bag.
And yeah, that's how you can get a basic level done. And quick explanation, this is for particles, SP+, DS is for the door smoothing thing, and it's always required if you have a low tech 20 door, or any door where you have the sound effect, otherwise you're gonna get the horrible artifacts. End of level, this is for the secrets left, you get the prompt on the screen, you have this many secrets left. This for Haskell cast, it's very simple, you just give a sound number, which is from the high tags, and you just can find like Haskell sounds, or you can have like even a step sound as the broadcast if you really want, triggers and whatnot, and there's like number of monitors affected, seems that it has changed. And this is internal use, waypoints, you don't have to worry about it. Touchplay Plus, always use this for triggering stuff. There's going to be another video covering what cool stuff you can do with these. This is for sound effects. If you have a button or elevator that triggers the sound effects, we're going to go through like the Touchplay Plus briefing how you can work so that the elevator sound stops. This is for sound emitter. I think this is internal use as well. And this is for the light sprites. Proximity sensor. Walk close enough, it's going to trigger something. This is for a dialogue. This is something that we have scrapped, but it's still possible to modify the con files and have like a prompt on the bottom that has like the kind of like JRPG style or Star Fox style. You have like dialogue and you can have the characters, some portraits, and have them chat. This is move go. This is going to be explained later. Complicated hub sprite. You should have one of these on all of your maps. It can be 0 if you don't have any hop parts. Autosave can also be remote triggered. Very useful. GTFO, this is preventing stuff from entering the sector, which also has a bunch of properties. This is for the toilet effect. Look for the toilet map to see how it's done. Painted sector, this actually has nothing to do with the toilet effect. It simply prevents that you're not going to get any decals if you shoot the walls, or there's not going to be any stuff on the ground. This is really useful. For example, if you have a door that opens but you start getting bullet decals and they stay midair, then just put one of these and it's going to prevent those from staying there. It's basically tells that do not leave anything on the sector. This is for the Z-gate killer fall. If I actually put this right here and here, which means if I jump off from here and hit this, it will give me the prompt, press use to scream, you're about to die. And then we have particle shooter. This is if you have, let's say, you can want to shoot like bullets and rockets or something like that on against the player, or sparks or anything. This is the Z-kill, but it's for enemies. The secrets I mentioned. This is for Shelly sound, so it's basically a sound that emits from the player location. Horde mode, explained later. This is for the respawn sprite, which is if you use a transformation for the respawn, they're going to go to R2, or if you have a R sprite somewhere in the level, let's say you have a respawn sprite here, if you press the transformation sprite, it's actually going to do the upgrade to the sprites and you get an upgrade complete message there. And this is for changing the music, so you can change the soundtrack. The low tags here aren't really correct, so I'll need to redo these, but they kind of give you an idea of what they are. Quote buster, this is for displaying the quotes up here. You can have your own quotes from the con file. And then you have urinal and stuff. So, and this for the chest, it's kind of like the toilet, but you can look at the example maps. Enemy, get the fuck out. And I think those are most of the special sprites. If you need more on the special sprites, check out fury-map.lerpo.net, and I'll just copy paste the link on the chat. And this is basically where you can get a lot of the information for the basic stuff, and there's also a link to the video which has the first part of the tutorial, and it's going to help you go on. So next time, let's try a little bit more on doing some of the more complicated effects and a little bit more fun. Okay, see you next time.